An introduction to the Science of Hadith by Ibn al-Salah al-Shahrazuri, 577 to 643, the most influential work in the science of Hadith ever. G. Audition from someone behind a barrier is valid if, when he relates the Hadith personally, his voice is recognized. It is also valid when the Hadith are being recited to him. If his presence behind the barrier is known to one of those being granted the audition by him, if the presence of the one to who is being granted audition is recognized by him. For recognizing the teacher's voice or presence, one should be permitted to rely upon the word of someone trustworthy. They used to hear hadith from Aisha and the other wives of the Messenger of God, peace be upon him, from behind a barrier, and they related these hadith from them on the basis of their voice. The expert Abdul Ghani bin Sa'id cited as proof of the permissibility of this practice the statement of the Prophet, peace be upon him, Bilal will call out at night, so eat and drink until Ibn Maktoum calls out. Abdul Ghani also related with his isnad that Shu'bah said, when someone transmits hadith to you and you do not see his face, do not relate from him. Perhaps it is a devil who has taken his shape, saying, he transmitted to us and he informed us. God knows best. H. When a student hears a hadith from a teacher and the teacher then says to him, do not relate it from me, or I do not grant you permission to relate it from me, or he says, I did not inform you of it, or I recant from my informing you of it, so do not relate from me, without his ascribing that to his having made an error in the hadith, having doubts about it, or something like that, but rather he forbids the students to relate it from him, despite being unequivocal that it is his hadith. That does not nullify the student's audition or form an obstacle to the students relating from him. The expert Abu Sa'id ibn Aliyak al-Nisaburi asked the professor Abu Ishaq al-Isfarayini, God bless both of them, about the transmitter who intends his audition for a particular group and someone else comes and hears hadith from him without his knowledge of it. Is it permissible for that unintended student to transmit the hadith from him? He answered that it is permissible, and that even if the transmitter had said, I am informing you and I am not informing X, it would not harm X. God knows best. Part 3. Licensing. Ijaza. Ijaza is the third means of conveying and receiving hadith. It takes several forms. Form A. Licensing a specific text to a specific person, for instance. The teacher says, I hereby license book X, or the contents of this book, list of mine, fihristi, to you. This is the highest form of licensing, lacking the transference of the text, known as munawala. Some claim that there is no dispute regarding the permissibility of this form of licensing, and it is the Zahiris, the literalists, who did not dispute it. Rather, their dispute was over some other type of transmission. The judge Abu Walid al-Baji al-Maliki went further and categorically denied the existence of any dispute. He said there is no dispute regarding the permissibility of transmitting by license among the forebears of this community or their successors, and he asserted there was total unanimity on this. He also mentioned the dispute over whether one could act upon the material transmitted this way. God knows best. This is false. Large numbers of hadith scholars, jurists, legal theorists have indeed held contradictory opinions over the permissibility of transmitting by license. They hold the view that they hold this view that licensing is invalid if it is represented in one of the true transmissions from Shafi'i, God be pleased with him, on that topic. It has also been related by Arabi ibn Sulaiman that Shafi said that he did not use to allow licensing for hadith, and I disagree with Shafi'i on that. Rabi ibn Abu Sulaiman. A number of other Shafi'is, including the judges Hussein ibn Muhammad al-Marwarudi and Abu al-Hasan al-Mawardi, regarded licensing as invalid. Mawardi stated much unequivocally in his al-Hawi and traced it back to the doctrines of al-Shafi'i. Both of them said, if licensing were illicit, travelling to collect hadith would become pointless. This expression is also related from Shu'bah and others. The authority Ibrahim ibn Ishaq al-Harbi, Abu Muhammad Abdullah ibn Muhammad al-Isbahani, nicknamed Abu al-Sheikh, and the expert Abu Nasir al-Wa'ili al-Sijzi were amongst the scholars of hadith who regarded licensing as invalid. Abu Nasr related declarations of its incorrectness from a number of those he met, saying, I heard a number of scholars saying the implication of a transmitter saying, I hereby license you to relate from me, is I hereby license you to do something which is not allowed by the law, because the law does not permit the transmission of material which was not heard. Similar to this is what Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Thabit al-Khujandi, one of the Shafi'is, who regarded licensing as invalid, related from Abu Tahir ad-Dabbas, one of the authorities of the Hanafites. He said, when someone says to someone else, I hereby license you to relate from me what you did not hear, it is like saying, I hereby license you to ascribe lies to me. The established practice and the doctrine of a large number of scholars of Hadith and others are in favour of permitting licensing and allowing transmission on the basis of it. However, there is some obscurity in the argument made for this. We may say, when the teacher licenses the student to relate his transmissions from him, he has communicated them to him collectively, and it is the same as if he had communicated them to him word by word, as in the case discussed above regarding recitation to the teacher. The validity of this teacher's communicating these transmissions to his students does not rest upon his explicit verbal declaration. Rather, the aim is for the teacher to make the student understand that this is the material he transmits, and as for the student to comprehend this, and that occurs through the act of licensing which creates this understanding. God knows best. Just as relation on the basis of licensing is permitted, acting upon material transmitted that way is necessary. This is in conflict with the doctrines of those Zahiris and others who have followed them, who held that it is not necessary to act upon it, and that hadith transmitted this way is the same as a loose hadith, mursal. This is incorrect, because there is nothing in the act of licensing that impairs the cohesiveness or trustworthiness of the material transmitted in this way. God knows best. Stay tuned for many more parts.